What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here, back at you guys with another episode, man. We are back with another fall camp update. We talk all the storylines, rumors from across the country, and some of you guys reached out and asked us to cover some certain teams we have not covered yet. So make sure there's a playlist on our channel, 2021 fall camp update, storylines, rumors. Click on that. You can catch up on all the schools we've done. We've done six so far. This will be the third installment with another three schools. All these schools were either commented, someone wanted them covered, they DM'd us, they hit us up on the halftime app where we host audio rooms and things like that. So if you have a school you want us to cover, make sure to hit us up. We'll get it on the list, and we're doing these all next week, so you have plenty of time to hear the latest about your favorite team before the season kicks off for your team. And of course, the season actually kicks off next week, man. So make sure to subscribe now. That way you can stay in the know with all the latest college football news from around the country, whether it be Power Five, Group of Five, FCS, HBCU, it does not matter. We cover it all right here. We are your one-stop shop for college football. So we appreciate y'all tuning in. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're not, make sure you have your post notifications turned on. Make sure you're rocking with us, man. We have so many episodes coming down the pipeline and so many big things for the season plans, so make sure to stay tuned. But let's go ahead and kick it off. We're going to focus really on one position today. So I guess, a lot of people wanted to hear about the quarterback battles and just hear about their favorite schools. So we're going to start with Iowa State, in which there really aren't a lot of huge question marks around this team. They return a lot of talent. This is a team that had a historic year last year and is primed to make another one. I think they had their highest ranking in preseason AP history at number 7. It's the Iowa State Cyclones. Matt Campbell has done an excellent job of building up this program, recruiting well, developing talent, and now it's all paid off as they have almost no holes on this roster. They're returning almost every significant contributor from last year, in which they won the regular season Big 12. It's not really a title, but they were the number one team out of the Big 12 in the regular season. They ended up falling just short to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game and won a huge Fiesta Bowl over Oregon. So they got a huge New Year's Six Bowl win, and this program is on the upward trajectory. And all signs point toward Iowa State being Oklahoma's biggest competition in the Big 12. And, the biggest storyline I could really find, and this is an interesting one, I'm very glad that, I did some research and found this. I don't feel like a lot of other channels are talking about this, is that, we know Brock Purdy is going to be on his way to the NFL very soon. His eligibility is going to expire soon. Joel Gordon is the offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach for Iowa State. I believe it's just mostly the quarterback coach, but he was asked about Brock Purdy, the backup quarterback battle, everything like that. And, Brock Purdy, he really talked about how really his health was the main thing. This is the healthiest he's been since his freshman season. He said he's been banged up at times in the previous few seasons. And what he wants Purdy to focus on is that he doesn't want to have to change his game all up, do anything different than what he's been doing for these past few years. But what he wants to do is just focus on making the right play at the right time. And Purdy knows the offense. He knows what decision he needs to be made. He just wants them to keep that consistency up and just keep getting better every day. So Brock Purdy is really an interesting case for me because I feel like he's a quarterback that he gets an unfair criticism. He didn't play well early. I think his play really cost him against Louisiana Lafayette week 1 last year, in which the huge upset. I mean, really and truly, Louisiana Lafayette ended up being a lot better than a lot of people thought. And Iowa State shouldn't have lost that game. Special teams played a huge role, but Brock Purdy didn't play well. But what we saw is he progressively played better and better as the season wore on. But I thought he could have played a bit better in the Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma, a bit more consistent. And what I want to see is if you're going to be the number 7 team in the country, you're going to be, but some people's preseason pick to win the Big 12. Brock Purdy has to take his game to the next level, and that's kind of the sentiment I was getting here, based on all these fall camp reports at Iowa State, is that Brock Purdy is taking that next step, stepping into that huge leadership role, and that he's ready to lead this offense next season. And you see the second part of this is the new QB2. It looks like, according to all reports and everything coming out of Cyclone Alert over there on 247 in terms of fall camp updates, it looks like Hunter Deckers has really taken a strong lead for the quarterback 2 position, which means he really could be in place of, he really could take the place of Brock Purdy after he heads to the NFL. And, Deckers was a 4-star guy, top 300 player out of Iowa in the class of 2020, 6'3", 225. But according to all reports, his weight got the best of him last year. He got way up over like 250, and they wanted to slim him down some. And all reports out of camp is that he lost a lot of weight. He's in the best shape that he's been on campus at Ames. And also, if you don't know Decker's story, this kid was such an accomplished player coming out of Iowa. When you look at his stats, man, over 10,000 yards thrown over his 4 years, 126 touchdowns, only 22 picks. And, when I list his size, you're like, man, he must not be that mobile. This is a guy who ran for over 1,200 yards in high school and 21 rushing touchdowns. So he's able to run the RPOs, to read options, make plays outside the pocket if they don't respect his legs. And so for me, Decker, a lot of people were counting on him to step up, and I felt like a lot of people wrote him off as QB2 last year and as the, I guess, person who could step in and take over if, Brock Purdy unfortunately went down, and or when Brock Purdy left, was Decker going to be the guy to step up for the Cyclones? And according to all reports, he has been playing outstanding. He's already clinched that backup role that he had a lot of competition. In my opinion, Aiden Bowman was coming in and was really giving everyone a run for their money. But according to Joel Gordon, quarterback coach here, it's very clear Hunter Deckers and Brock Purdy are QB 1 and 2. Brock Purdy's taken that next step, and Deckers has primed himself for a huge season and a huge step up when Purdy ends up, his eligibility expires at Iowa State. So that's the latest out of Iowa State in terms of the quarterbacks and in terms of what this offense could be, because I feel like everyone knows what Breece Hall's going to be. Xavier Hutchinson's at wide receiver. The tight end room's loaded as always. Offensive line's there. Everyone from the defense is pretty much coming back. So not huge positional battles, huge controversial storylines coming out of Iowa State, but Brock Purdy taking that next step and a strong replacement in the wings waiting for his departure is great news for Iowa State and Matt Campbell and the future success and the ongoing and I guess sustaining the success at Iowa State that a lot of people had questions on. It looks like Matt Campbell is well on his way to keeping the train rolling in Ames. And so I want to go ahead. Let's get to one of the biggest quarterback battles, one of the biggest national storylines out there, and that's the quarterback battle at Ohio State. So let's go ahead and take the obvious. Quinn Ewers is on campus. He was going through his first few fall practices, fall camps, and Ryan Day said he had a lot to learn and has a lot of catching up to do. So Quinn Ewers is not a factor in this competition. He's probably going to take a redshirt year. They might try to get him into some action here or there in the season, maybe have some special packages for him just to get him a throw or two. But I would fully expect Quinn Ewers to go ahead and take a redshirt year. This really was about making NIL money, so he can do that regardless of whether he plays. He's so far behind in terms of understanding the offense, learning the offense, than CJ Stroud or anyone else in this quarterback battle. And so it really and truly, Ryan Day was asked on Monday, according to bucknuts.com for 247 Sports. Coach Ryan Day, head coach Ryan Day said, quote, "We're not going to name a starter right now, but there has been some separation with CJ Stroud." And he was asked to follow up, and he said, quote, "It's not just one thing. It's his body of work over 26 practices, including the 15 in spring practices and our first 11 days of fall camp. It's just something that has evolved over time." And according to all reports, he has looked spectacular in the scrimmages. He has looked just he seemed to have has he seemed to have the best arm strength, the best accuracy, the best pocket presence. He just seems to have the better command of the offense. So for me, I really like what CJ Stroud is bringing to this team based on all the reports. Now, the Big Ten Network asked Garrett Wilson to kind of break down each quarterback in the battle, what he likes about them. And he said that he likes how CJ drops the ball in the bucket, hits him on the run. He said the best way to put it is like Russell Wilson. He just drops it in on you, makes it fall on you, and it's just so easy to catch the deep ball. And then you also have Kyle McCord, five-star quarterbacks, who's really going to make an impact. He said that he's the hardest working quarterback that he has met, which is a great thing for the future of this program. And he said from the day he's walked in, he's had a huge impact, getting us all out to the field, getting us to go through. That's something that can't be understated. And Miller is kind of on the on the fringe outside looking in because it's really a Kyle McCord, CJ Stroud battle based on after spring practice. Those two guys really took the lead, but he talked about Miller's intensity and his energy every day. So, and then Ewers, he just says that he's new, but he keeps the energy high. He always keeps everyone laughing, and he's new, so he has some growing to do in terms of making an impression and things like that. But this is big for Ohio State because CJ Stroud is going to have to be ready week 2, and really week 1, they have 2 back-to-back pretty tough games. Minnesota week 1 is not going to be a pushover game. Minnesota has become a factor in the Big Ten, while on the flip side, you have Oregon coming in week 2, which might have one of the better defensive rosters that Ohio State's going to see throughout the season. So we're going to find out a lot about CJ Stroud. We're going to find out a lot about how willing, I guess, how much is Ryan Day willing to go through with a new quarterback before he gives another guy a shot. And how lenient is he going to be with CJ Stroud? Is he going to let him make some mistakes? Is he going to let him grow, or is he going to be like, man, we got to win now, and we have to figure it out? So his week 1 performance is going to be huge. If he goes out there and just lights up Minnesota, then he probably clinched the job, and that gives him a whole lot of momentum going into Oregon when they come visit Columbus week 2 at 11 a.m. And for me, with that Oregon game, having that type of wide receiving core that Ohio State has, where they're probably 5-6 deep minimum on that wide receiving core in terms of guys who can play anywhere in the country and can go get open on their own, that have the route running, that have the speed, that have the physicality to really be a matchup nightmare for corners, because Oregon's very loaded at the corner spot, but I don't know if they go 6 deep. And they're pretty strong at the safety spot, but they're going to have some new starters. So this is going to be a huge test on Oregon as well in terms of the wide receiving unit. But when you have a new quarterback like CJ Stroud or, Miller or McCord, the biggest thing that helps out Ryan Day is knowing you have a group of experienced wide receivers that are hyper athletic, ultra talented, and you can rely on them to go make plays and kind of bail your young quarterback out at times. Because there's going to be times where all he has to do is drop it in a bucket, because Chris Olave is one of the best deep ball runners in the country. And so CJ Stroud's not going to have to carry the weight and go out there and force this team to win or drag this team to a win. He's going to have a lot of help. That offensive line looks completely rebuilt, completely dominant. They're going to have probably 3-4 offensive linemen from this O-line this year that go to the NFL draft and are probably drafted in the top 3 rounds. So Protections shouldn't be too big of a problem. You have the wide receivers to bail you out early as you're trying to learn the offense, as you're trying to get your feet underneath you, as you're trying to slow the game down in your head. So CJ Stroud's in a great position, but as Ryan Day said out of his mouth, CJ Stroud has really created the separation he needs to possibly be the QB1 going forward for Ohio State. So that's a huge development out of Columbus. And we wrap it up here going back down to the state of Texas to go check out the Texas A&M Aggies, in which they also have a quarterback battle raging. We got Haynes King and Zach Calzada over there battling for the QB battle, looking to be the signal caller for Jimbo Fisher as he looks to repeat to come off and repeat last year's huge success in which he finished top 5 in the country, was one spot away from getting the Aggies to the college football playoff, which would have been a huge accomplishment, uh, for Jimbo Fisher there at Texas A&M. So, coming out of practice and coming out of spring, I told you that I really didn't love how either of these guys looked coming out of spring. And I was like, I don't know if replacing Kellen Mond is going to be as easy a task as people would think. And according to all reports, man, they've been flipping back and forth. And, like we talked about with Texas yesterday, no one has just went out there and grabbed the job and just said, yes, I'm taking the job. And like I said yesterday, our guy over at 247, Josh Pate, who's been on the show, shout out to him for saying this. You don't want to have to give the quarterback job to somebody. You want someone to go out there, earn it, take it, something like you want to go out there and say, man, I am so confident that he's the best quarterback. You saw what he did. You saw what he did this. You don't want to just give it to someone by default. And neither guy here has really separated himself. Calzada or King has done anything. I mean, now Calzada apparently has been more consistent with his accuracy. His deep ball looks a lot prettier, according to all reports coming from Gig'em 247. And they're able to adjust. The wide receiver is able to adjust more. The wide receivers like catching the ball from him more. And Calzada, everything that Gig'em 247 has been saying is that he has done everything in his power to make this a real battle. And this past practice, he was running with the ones. So it makes you think maybe he could have taken a small lead here. But apparently, Haynes King, his athleticism is keeping him in the race. Now, what he can do when plays break down and what he can do outside the pocket with his legs really keeps him in this race. So it sounds like Calzada is a much better passer, has a little bit more zip on the ball, accuracy, can push the ball down the field, while King is more of that improviser type quarterback that is going to make you pay when things kind of get out of hand, and he's able to handle the chaos. He's able to harness it and make plays out of the chaos, which you always want in a quarterback. So now Jimbo has a tough decision because Texas A&M does not have an easy road. They have a tough schedule. They're not going to be able to ease into things, and that early game against Colorado is one that I don't think people should look over. Colorado was only like a game away from representing the Pac-12 in the Pac-12 championship last year. That team is a lot better than I think people down south are thinking, because they don't pay SEC fans don't love Pac-12 football. They don't pay as much attention to it. Colorado is not going to be a pushover. A&M's got to travel for that game as well. So that's going to be an interesting one. And then the conference slate in the SEC West is always brutal. So these guys are going to have to be ready to play early and often, and they're going to have to be ready to go out there and make sure that and listen, I want to say this, Jimbo is a quarterback guy, he's an offensive guy, so he's probably going to make the right decision regardless. And what he's able to do being an offensive minded coach is he's going to be able to call plays and kind of shape the offense to the guy who wins the job. So, it's really going to determine whether he wants kind of an improviser type in King, or he wants that, just that deep passer with the accurate that you can rely on to push the ball down the field in Calzada. Now, if I had to predict, I still think King has a slight upper hand, but you never know with Jimbo, man. He probably has a plan, and what he wants is the guy who's going to be able to run his offense the most consistently. That's what made Kellen Mond so special. Is yes, I understand he always didn't wow people, and he sometimes just kind of flew under the radar, but he was fair. Like he never for me, he never just made outrageous plays. Like he was always like pretty consistent in terms of what he gave you. I know he has some up and down games, but I liked what Kellen Mond brought. And I think last year it all culminated into a very impressive year for him. And that's why he was able to lead this team to a number 5 ranking almost to the college football playoffs. Now, I think Calzada and King will be able to keep A&M in the SEC West race. But I mean, listen, if you're going to challenge Alabama with the defense that they're putting on the field this next year, then Calzada and King have to be ready to go. So this will be Jimbo Fisher's most important decision that he has had at his time at Texas A&M. So picking the right guy here could be the difference between competing for the SEC West and or falling behind LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, and possibly even Auburn. So A&M has such a dominant defense this year, man. That defense is loaded. The offensive line's good. You have Isaiah Spiller. I mean, what this tells me is that since this quarterback battle, it's Friday, August 20th, man. If this quarterback battle is not solved, Isaiah Spiller is going to be a huge part of this offense. And so I'm excited to see what Spiller can bring. I'm excited to see what this defense is going to look like. But according to all reports out of College Station, no favorite has emerged. They've kind of been flipping back and forth. But Jimbo has a press conference today in which he should speak a little bit more on it. So pay close attention to how he talks about each quarterback if you're looking to name a favorite. But guys, I appreciate you turning in. If you are new here, man, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers ASAP, and we really want you to join us for the college football season. That way we can be your one-stop shop for all things college football. But guys, we will be here tomorrow, Saturday, 7 p.m. Central Time with a Big 12 preview, going over games to watch, players to watch, giving our official predictions. So tune in live here on Twitter and or Facebook. And then we'll be back Monday morning with another fall camp update. We're giving them all through the week. So make sure to tune in if y'all are rocking with it. And also comment below what team y'all want to see us do next. So man, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Appreciate the support, guys. But for myself and the Blue Bloods, we'll see y'all tomorrow night. But for right now, we're out.